Welcome to the Lowdown Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today, it's a Lowdown first, actually, where we've got a duo joining us today. Two people, it's a husband and wife out of Cabot, Arkansas. Now, these two folks caught my attention on Facebook with just the fun that they're having with their personal brand and within their business, the way they highlight their clients and their referral partners and all the just little fun things that they're doing. I highly recommend that you check out their page. But today we've got the Lyles team, Blake and Stefanie Lyles. I just want to welcome you both to the Lowdown. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Connor.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure just getting to meet new people and folks that are doing well in this business and just learning your story. And so I just want to get started there, right? And if you would, because I know the mortgage industry, you don't go to school for it. It's usually something people fall into, get discovered. It's almost like being an actor, right? and so I'm curious, like, when did you realize that after you got into the business that you knew that mortgage was more than just a job for you and that it was going to be a career, something that you really wanted to pursue more than just a 9 to 5?
That's more of a you one there. You can start that one off.
So my mortgage journey starts way back in prehistory. 2000, I was, in school looking for a job. I applied as a bank teller, was interviewed as a loan processor, and it all started from there. So, I'm going through several pretty difficult things in life at that point. And, you were saying it's kind of like getting discovered with an actor. There's a lot of starving years in there.
Yes, absolutely.
But I always knew this is a really important business. It's very lucrative for the people who understand it and want to help people. And so, my original plan was finish college, get into law school. I was also a single mom of a small child at that time. And so I just started doing the math because the student loans I was going to have to borrow were going to put my debt load super, super high. And I was like, you know what? If I stay in this industry and if I'm, start originating, I could just really start making a lot of money. So I really felt like there was a lot of potential, something I was good at. And I did have some people along the way that were like, you would be great at this, encouraged me to stick with it, encouraged me, pointed me in different directions. So I would say that was probably 2006 was when I took my first originator position.
Wow. Okay.
And Blake was one of my customers.
Okay.
About 4 years after I started originating. He was active duty military. I financed his home purchase, and then he just started calling me every day to ask me out.
That's true.
And so finally I went on a date with him because all the girls that I worked with were like, why are you not going out with this guy? He's so cute. So finally I was like, okay, let's go to lunch. We went to lunch, and then the rest was history. So we had been married about 7 years. Blake was working for Union Pacific Railroad at that time, and he was out of the Air Force. On his way to work on his motorcycle, got hit, had a really bad motorcycle wreck. And so during that time, I had moved to a different company that was more focused on mortgage. I got out of a retail bank where I was originating.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was at the point where I really wanted to hire an assistant or a team member or a production partner. So Blake had been home for several weeks. His short-term disability pay had not kicked in yet. And I was like, you know what? We're okay on one income. Let me throw out a crazy idea to you. And I had all of these, I had, all my math on a piece of paper, and I showed it to him.
Yeah. Present the facts, right?
And and the rest is history.
Yeah. It was scary because I was walking away from, railroad is a good job, great benefits, and everything was really good. And we prayed about it, of course, and kind of crunched the numbers. And I remember looking at Steph one night when we decided that we were going to do it. I said, okay, we're going to do it. Because I was away from the kids a lot, with the schedule. It was kind of all over the place. And I remember looking at Steph and I said, honey, I really hope this works because it's all eggs in one basket.
Right.
And I'll never forget, she looked at me and she said, we don't have an option. It has to work.
Yeah.
A light switch went off. And from that point on, I've never turned it off. It's went from 2, I think we have a total of 9 working with us now.
Nice.
At our office. We've got our own place now. We've been tremendously blessed. Looking back, I tell people the motorcycle accident was one of the worst things that has ever happened to me, but it transitioned into being one of the best things that ever happened.
Right. Funny how things like that happen, right?
Where we're at right now, if you'd have told me this 10, 15 years ago, I'd have been like, not a chance, dude. Not a chance.
Yeah.
So.
But I saw that Blake had a lot of potential as like a business leader. He has great entrepreneurial skills, and he had always wanted to be, sole proprietor or work for himself in some capacity. And I was like, this could be a winning combination. Yeah. Everybody thought we were insane. Everyone. Our families, they were like, you guys are going to work together. Blake has no finance background.
Right.
I can be kind of bossy. There were all these pitfalls. And we have had to have, some adjustments with working together. Like I work from home, Blake's in the office. Because if we're both physically together during the day, that's a little bit.
That could be worse than the motorcycle wreck.
Yeah, that's like a little bit too much time together.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Well, that's great. I love that story, and I love the growth that you've seen in your team along over the years. I mean, it's one of the great things about the mortgage industry is the more successful you are, the more jobs you can create. I mean, in the end, even if you're working for another lender out there, there's still that entrepreneurial aspect of what you do that can open up other opportunities for others too. So that's an awesome story. Yeah. So you've been doing this a while now, and you've helped a lot of people and really been involved in your community there in Cabot, Arkansas. Is there a loan story that really sticks out to you? One that really hit close to home or really just reminded you of why you really did?
Many.
Yeah,
we have
many of those.
I mean, I would say, and in particular, the past few years with loans being so difficult just because affordability has been difficult, I would say most of the people that we come in contact with have some amazing story.
Yeah.
We had one family in particular, and it was a couple from Montana. They had custody of their grandchildren through a foster care situation, and they ended up adopting the children. And so they had never planned for this to happen at this point in their life. They relocated to Arkansas, and I've never met two people that were more determined to work hard and do whatever they had to do to get a home for these children. And we ended up doing a down payment assistance loan. We had lots of hiccups on the property. There were a lot of repairs. And we still run into this guy. We'll see him at Home Depot, and when
we got to the end, he said, I'm coming to closing with bells on.
Yes.
And he had bells wrapped around his wrist, and he was
literally, huh? Okay.
We kind of live by the motto, our whole team. I remember, if anybody's listening to this and hasn't ever read or followed any of Zig Ziglar's stuff, one of the things that he said that we have latched on to is if you'll help enough people getting where they're going in life, you'll have no issues getting to where you're headed. And we approach everything that we do like that. Even in our office, there's no competition. It's helping each other. Our job is to help people get into homes. And when you turn it into that, when you turn it from I want to make money to where I want to help people, that money's going to follow.
It will.
And that's kind of where we found ourselves at. And we're thankful for that. So.
Not to say, in the early days, of course, money was my motivation because I was totally broke, and I'm like, I got to find a way to pay the bills, and have some sort of quality of life here. But even for the people on your team that work for you and assist those clients, your attitude is contagious. So if you show up at work every day negative about the market, about everything else and seeing those things as a problem. It's going to be contagious with your team. And I've really tried very hard. It's hard to remember each day you've got to show up, have the best attitude possible, and have a servant's heart. Because otherwise you're going to get beat up if you're just focusing on the lucrative side of being in this business.
Completely. Well, flashy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so in this business, you're really serving several different, I guess, groups of people, right? You've got your clients, the borrowers that are looking to get into the home. You've got your team, and then you've got your referral partners and the way that you work with them and how do you stand out and all of those things, which are some of the challenges that I know a lot of loan officers navigate. So I'm just curious, like when we're speaking about referral partnerships and the way you guys operate your business on that end, what are some of the things that you offer as a value proposition of the Lyles team, or some of the things that really you do that are unique in working with those business partners?
Well, I have discovered the value of a fast no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we tell this a lot to real estate agents. And at first they think, they're kind of like, what do you mean? But if you've got a deal and you are just beating a dead horse, it is better to say, it's not going to work. Here are the reasons why, and here's what we can do to get this borrower where they need to be. So that is something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. If you're dragging this thing out, getting it through underwriting and taking 3 weeks, and in the meantime, you may have these people under contract, that is not only going to give your reputation a black eye with the borrower, but whoever referred that, and then the listing agent and the seller. So if everybody just knew no up front, makes the world a better place. And I know that sounds crazy. Another thing that we really like doing is new realtor education.
Okay.
Because we realize, you come out of real estate school and maybe you haven't closed a transaction, and it's a lot different when you're doing it versus learning about it. Mm-hmm. So for instance, last week we had 15 newly licensed agents in our area that signed up for a class. We advertised it on Facebook, filled up like within 4 hours. We did a lunch and learn. So we brought lunch in, had the agents come in, and then we do a quick presentation on different loan types, things that you can do to set yourself up for success, like getting a great close estimate on closing costs, not just generically asking for 3%. Knowing what are the things that I need to look out for. Is this borrower FHA approved? Is the listing going to go FHA? Just things like that from, hey, don't forget to send the loan officer the contract. Right. Because a lot of times everyone sends it to title, but they forget to send it to the people who are funding the loan.
Sure, yeah.
And we have gotten a lot of great connections from that because they appreciate us taking the time.
Sure.
Point them in the right direction and to give them, some boots on the ground advice for how to navigate what's going on right now. And then I like to come in at the end and do a little market update with what's going on with bonds, mortgage rates, and how that all correlates. A lot of people get focused on the Fed, and I'm like, that target funds rate is not necessarily what sets mortgage rates, because bonds are going to move ahead of what they anticipate the Fed's going to do. So we've actually seen the Fed cut the rate and then mortgage rates go up that day.
Right.
There was an overcorrection.
Yeah. Yeah. So something else that I know that you guys are passionate about is just the personal branding piece of the business too. And, mortgage is it's a really unique thing because there's this, I don't know how to explain it, but you've got the loan officer that's out there front and center, and then there's the lender that you work for that's backing you up and giving you the support. And, really within, I guess, maybe the last 10 years, like this topic of personal brand has just sort of grown and grown and grown. And just the need to really promote your own personal value to the community, to those referral partners, and, doing things on social media or even just locally in your area and pouring into local businesses and things like that. I've seen really work well. What is your approach to that?
So we know, we understand there's company after company out there that you can go and work for. But at the end of the day, you're going to get your business based off of how you do it and who you are and how you run your business. So when we run our business as the Lyles team. That's who we are. And wherever we're at, like I said, if anybody's thinking of a transition from one place to the other and they're scared, Stefanie actually went through this at one time when she was leaving one place and going to another. What you have to remember is who you are is what's going to get you the business, not where you're at. Now, you do want to align yourself with a company that, where you see eye to eye, they're giving you what you need. You're going to get the best that you can from them. But at the end of the day, we understand and realize that people's going to come to us because of how we do business, not, whatever company it is that you're with at the time.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. Well, and are you guys giving any education on that with those agents, or do you help promote them, or are there ways that you integrate those relationships into your
We do.
branding?
Yeah. So what I do occasionally is I'll do what's called a collaboration call.
Okay.
And I'll have a handful of realtors, and usually about every other week, we'll jump on a call. It's structured 15 minutes. This is it. And it's what can I do to help you grow your business and what can you do to help me grow mine? So we don't ever look at things as like, hey, I'm going to teach you this. It's a collaborative thing together. It's how can we help each other grow?
Yeah.
That's been a huge success, and aligning yourself. We've learned this along the way too. Let's just be honest. There's some people you don't want to work with.
Yeah, that's a quick no also, right?
Quick no.
Correct.
There's some people you don't want to work with. It comes down to, title companies, insurance, lenders, selling agent, buyer's agent. I tell our team, it takes one bad apple in that transaction to ruin the whole thing for the buyer or the seller.
Right. Yeah.
So we try to align ourselves strategically with people that have the same values and mindset as we do to just produce the best service that you can get. We look at what we do. I tell people when they're trying to get business, if you're nervous about calling someone, if you're nervous about, cold calling and things like that, if you look at it from a standpoint of that person needs me to help them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wanting to get a loan, I know in my mind that nobody's going to work for you as hard as I can. I'm not benefiting you if I'm not reaching out to you. And that's what's helped me grow our business for me and us as a team.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So this job is hard, guys.
Yes.
And to do it for no salary or what, like it's challenging. But what do you love about it? Like, what are the things that really keep you going?
I love the fact that we have been available for every single event that our kids have had. So, like our son plays sports, our daughter cheers, junior high, high school. When Blake was working for the railroad, he worked nights and weekends. And it was the same thing when he was active duty Air Force. So now we can take the kids to school, pick them up, be there for every single practice, game, and those are things that you can't get back. And I don't want to look back after my kids are grown and be like, you know what? I wish I would have, allocated time better, or nobody's going to say, hey, I wish I would have missed my kid's game and worked overtime.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
For a business standpoint, literally last week, I had 2 phone calls from 2 first-time home buyers that we did their loans years ago. Both of those home buyers are going to walk away with 100 plus in equity. And I remember having a conversation with one of them. I said, do you remember how scared you were when we first did this? You were renting. I said, aren't you glad you did this? And she was like, absolutely. You have no idea. And to be able to see that, like what you tell people, you put them in a situation, because you always have that in the back of your mind. I truly want to do the right thing. And to see their families grow, they're getting a bigger house. And what really feels good is they come back to you. If they come back to you, you're doing your job right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like planting seeds. Yeah. So, everyone you come in contact with, you're planting a seed for the future. And it's awesome that, maybe I'll have somebody from 15 years ago before Blake and I were even a team, and they'll track me down and they're like, good, you're still doing this.
Yeah, that's got to be rewarding. So what's next for you guys? I mean, as far as skills you're working on, or different, what do you see as being valuable for a loan officer in the next 2, 3, 5 years? And where do you see you want to skate to where the puck is going. So like, where do you see that?
Well, Blake and I have really worked very diligently to hone our product, being us as a team, and what we do with our processor, with our production partner. And now that we have that kind of finely tuned, we are taking that and duplicating that. So now we have another team that was just built within our branch. And so now we really want to expand out to the rest of Arkansas.
Yeah.
And grow more. So I'm excited about that because now I feel like we have the framework to duplicate.
Yeah.
And so when you have your baseline blueprint, so to speak, on how things are going to be set up and how they're established, it's really easy at that point to duplicate that. And the thing, so Sente has been great to us. And one thing that our CEO told me several years ago that changed the game for him was when you hire people with aligned values, you can't go wrong. So when you find a values match in someone, meaning the same things that are important to you are the same things that are important to them, the same drivers, everything is going to fall into place because you don't have competing interests.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's a great piece of advice.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Well, I want to wrap this up real quick. And first, I just want to say I didn't know this before we jumped on, but Blake, thank you for your service. I think that's amazing. But I mean, before we wrap up and leave, I mean, is there anything that you want to share as a leave behind? I mean, the people that tend to watch this podcast or listen to this podcast are folks that have figured out the basics of this business, but now they're ready to move on and grow and start scaling, but they just maybe don't know how, right? So is there anything that you would share as just a bit of advice to someone in that place and how they can start to move forward?
Absolutely. The biggest one is do things your way. It's really easy to get on Facebook and see what your local competition is doing and then get all freaked out because maybe you're doing things in a different direction. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Yeah.
So be friendly with the competition. I know most of the local lenders. I can bounce ideas off of them. Don't see people as a threat. Mm-hmm. And appreciate what everyone brings to the table and their contribution. And just because your marketing or way of attracting and building business isn't the same as someone else's doesn't mean you're on the wrong track. So stay true to yourself and your own values, and that's going to be what makes you unique, and it comes shining through. So then your social media, everything is genuine and it's authentic without you having to try to make it that.
And always do the right thing.
Yes.
You got to do the right thing. And if it's uncomfortable, it's probably what you need to be doing. Like when you're struggling about making that next step, if you're struggling with that or reaching out to people mm-hmm. and it's uncomfortable, I mean, that's what's going to help you grow.
That's where the growth happens. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Like nobody's ever going to grow until you feel your pants getting a little bit tight,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I really appreciate all the insight that you brought to this today and just for sharing so much of your story and your background. And, I wish you guys nothing but the best. I hope that there's some amazing things ahead for you in the future. It sounds like your systems are locked in. You're focused on a plan of what you want to do. You've got some great relationship building things in place already. So, I mean, I can't imagine it'll be that hard. I mean, it's going to just be a snap, right?
You're a great example of a collaborative personality. You're the type of people that we want to connect with in the industry. So that's what it's all about. Just like you reached out to us and said, hey, I'd like to get you guys on a quick podcast. Absolutely. People sharing feedback and ideas is the best way to push yourself further and your business.
Yeah. Well, I love that, obviously. Well, hey, I'll add your Facebook links in the notes of this show. So if anybody wants to go visit Stefanie or Blake, you'll know how to find them. And guys, thanks for joining the Lowdown today. It was great having you on.
Thanks so much, Connor.
Thanks, Connor.